Welcome to Apart Market Dynamics from MPF Research. I'm Jay Parsons, and I'm joined by Shane Squires, who is an economist and one of the market researchers on the MPF Research team. And Shane's recently wrapped up some interesting research into one of our industry's favorite topics, millennials. And Shane, our industry talks about the millennial generation a lot, but sometimes we get locked into stereotypes and generalities. And one of the things that's really interesting from your research is you've really challenged the common narrative that everybody who's a millennial wants to rent. And that's what's really driving down the home ownership rate, or at least that's the conventional wisdom. But your research shows that that's a pretty significant oversimplification.
Yeah, it definitely is. There are fewer young adults that are owning homes, but it'd be a gross oversimplification to think that they're all renting. Even as we see a lot of surveys that are showing that millennials prefer to rent, when you look at the proportion of millennials that are renting as to the relative population, that has actually been fairly constant over the past 15 years. And that's different from the older generations that have been renting a lot more commonly.
And as we all know, we've seen a big boom in the young adult population size. Millennials are now the largest generation in America. And so even if the same proportion of young adults are renting compared to previous generations, that's a lot more people into the renter pool. And on the flip side, this chart here is going to show you the proportion of young adult homeowners has actually dropped off notably. So the proportion of young adults owning homes has declined, yet the proportion of young adult renters has held steady. So Shane, how is that possible?
Well, the key thing, it comes down to lack of household formation. As you can see from this chart, the percentage of households to the population has dropped off considerably for the under 35 age category, whereas the other age categories have remained fairly constant.
So Shane, where are these people if they're not renting?
They're either living with family, coupling up, living with roommates. In other words, the average household size has become much larger.
So what's holding back household formation in your view?
There's a lot of factors. Most commonly cited is the increasing student loan burden, lagging income growth, which stems in part from older Americans staying in the workforce longer, which has diminished economic opportunity for younger people. But I think one of the main things that hasn't got enough attention is the rising cost of living, specifically the cost of healthcare and food costs, which, as you can see from this chart, all of that has combined to create a generation with low net worth, and that directly diminishes their ability to buy homes.
Those are some great points, Shane. And beyond the economic headwinds, we also hear a lot about cultural trends that are contributing to low homeownership rates among young adults. People waiting longer to get married, waiting longer to have kids. Commitment phobes who want to maintain flexibility, so they may prefer signing leases over buying houses. We hear about these things a lot. But Shane, from your research, how impactful are these cultural trends on low homeownership rates?
They are significant trends, but they're very difficult to quantify because we don't know how preferences would change if the economic vitals of the generation were more healthy. What we can quantify is this is the most complex, diverse generation in American history, and that could be having an impact on the average household size increase that we're seeing today. What we do believe is our base view is that the prolonged adolescence is a real thing, and millennials will eventually buy homes, but it's going to be later on in life.
And Shane, your research pointed out another, I think, really important factor that hasn't got enough attention in explaining why young adults are not buying homes. And that's a pretty simple, practical thing, which is there just aren't very many homes available to buy, particularly at lower price points in some of the economically healthier metros where millennials might actually be able to buy houses.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. The resale inventory is very low, and especially at the price point that millennials could afford. This chart shows you home prices and available inventory. Those two metrics ranked together closely until recently. Now you see rapid price acceleration with a drop-off in availability. And the homes that are available tend to be far from the neighborhoods where millennials want to be, near downtown areas and other employment hotspots.
And Shane, beyond the low resale inventory, we also see building permit levels remain very low. And in particular, of the homes that are being built, very few are starter homes in this cycle. And that's been a big factor because at the same time, we've seen an awful lot of new apartments being built. And it's very different from what was built for previous generations when they were young adults.
Absolutely. Today's apartments are much more urban, highly amenitized, and much better marketed than product in previous cycles. So that has incentivized a lot of people to go to apartments even when they could afford to buy a single-family home.
So Shane, it seems that we've really seen a perfect storm, a web of complex factors all contributing to low home ownership rates among young adults, some economic reasons, cultural reasons, and some very practical reasons. So it's really it'd be wrong to oversimplify some of these things. And if you want to dive in further, I would encourage you to check out Shane's 4-part series on millennials. You can find that on the Real Page blog, propertymanagementinsider.com. Shane, thank you for your work. And for those of you watching, thank you for watching Apart Market Dynamics from MPF Research.
Want more? Go deeper with MPF Research's apartment market reports. From a national level, down to individual metros, to specific neighborhoods, MPF Research has been providing unparalleled apartment market intelligence to the multifamily industry for almost 5 decades. Learn more by contacting us at 877-284-4938 or visit www.npfresearch.com and click on Market Reports.